welcome back to another week of Art Life. It's actually really exciting to be able to get back to Art Life properly this week, talking about my exhibition that I've put together over the last couple of months. So really what I'd like to talk to you about today is steps I've kind of put in place leading up to the show, everything on my checklist that I've had to do to make sure that this exhibition goes smoothly, and all the elements around a show that artists have to think about if they're putting on one themselves. So as many of you know, we had a baby this year, so Art Life had to take a little bit of a back seat while we basically sorted out life in general. My painting practice, it became so precious, my moments in the studio working around a newborn baby and an infant, that really I just had to use my time as efficiently as I could and paint rather than documenting it on Art Life as I was going along. However, I did keep up with my social media on Instagram at Jess Oliver Art. So for those of you who kind of have followed me, you would have seen over the last months I have been preparing for this exhibition. So the show itself is called Liminal. So liminal means the place between spaces. And I'm going to go a little bit more into that in a second, because I'm doing this as a duo show with another artist sculptor friend of mine, Gus Barnes, who we have done a video about. Please do check that out if you haven't seen it already. I have done an exhibition in this venue before. Last June, we did an exhibition, it's my first solo show, called Vista, where I did a couple of episodes, which you will be able to see in the link below, putting together my first solo show. And I learned so much from that exhibition. The main thing I learned was actually how a body of work needs to be harmonious, in theme, how you see the viewers entering a gallery, looking at your work. What journey do you want them to go on when they're looking at the paintings? How do they progress through the gallery space? The curation of a space as well. What are you working with when you're putting a show together? What's your light source like? Is it open to the public with the kind of thoroughfare of people on the high street going into a gallery? Or is this gallery space that you've hired something more unusual? Are you having to make walls out of kind of makeshift wood? Every exhibition is different, and the key element of an exhibition is working to your environment and then working with your artwork and the viewer engaging with the work in that kind of relationship. So I know the venue, it's Art Space Woodbridge, and I found, looking back retrospectively at my last show, I loved putting a big artwork in the window. I loved bringing people into the gallery. The show itself was a sellout exhibition, so that was a summer show. I'm very confident at putting together exhibitions in the summer. This is December. We are leading up to Christmas now. So how is this show going to work in a winter environment? So that's also something I'm going to talk about in a minute. First things first, let me show you the poster. Now, when you're putting together an exhibition, the first thing you want to do is create your brand image. So working with my paintings and the sculpture, we created a kind of liminal exhibition idea of, basically, Gus's work is all about bronze sculpture, working with the land, and my work is all about working with the sky. We meet in the middle in that liminal space. So that's kind of where we were at with the kind of construction of the image. Something striking and bold. You usually have the kind of dates when the show's on, the venue at the bottom, and then sponsorship as well in the corners. So I always think that having exhibition sponsorship adds a little bit of credibility to your show, but also supports you as an artist. I mean, we were sponsored by Adnams of Southwold. They're an amazing brewery here in Suffolk, where I live in England, and they've given us the exhibition Pinot Noir bubbles, which will be lovely, and a startup engineering group, 5DM. Again, the money that they've sort of supported to us with the show means that we can hire the venue as artists doing this self-funding. Every little bit helps. So then putting these posters around coffee shops nearby in the village, obviously social media is a key thing when you're publishing, like when you're advertising for an exhibition, but it never hurts to have some good old-fashioned like flyering and leafleting. So that leads me to the catalogue. So liminal, this is what I've said about liminal on the back. The space between earth and sky is a place of transition, possibility and awe. It is an ethereal realm. The veil between worlds is thin. We encounter the limen or threshold where the familiar fades into the unknown and the limited meets the limitless. So this is what my work is all about, and it works so well with Gus's work. There's a kind of whimsy to it. It feels like the buoyancy of the paintings and the kind of ancient structures of Gus's sculptures are going to really communicate with each other. And that's what I'm so excited to kind of share with you as this kind of episode series goes on with exhibitions, how we're going to bring this show together, how we're going to make decisions about my paintings and his sculptures and the space itself. So all we've done on the inside, series of images, blurb about me, blurb about him. So, I mean, I won't go into the words. You can catch them on my website, which is jessoliver.co.uk. Really, it's helpful to have somebody else proofread something like this because it's very hard to write about yourself. You can add your kind of credentials at the beginning of a leaflet like this, where I say MFA, BFA, award-winning landscape artist, and you kind of puff yourself up, but also just allowing yourself to be proud of all your achievements as an artist. If you're a new artist, you say your name, emerging artist, so-and-so, embarks on a journey of painting or sculpture, or whatever your medium is, and you just basically explain it for someone who may know nothing about art, want to pick up a leaflet, and maybe they're shy and they don't know much about exhibitions. Exhibitions can be very intimidating places. I know for myself in London days, feeling sometimes quite shy of these cool, edgy spaces. Catalogues are really helpful like that. You can give all the information and then people can just do it at their own pace. Then I've kind of talked about my romantic observations of landscape, the interplay of light and atmosphere that my work has, all of which I'm really excited to show you in the gallery space. I'd love to kind of give you a little tour of all the new work I'm showing, but unfortunately, this studio is now crammed to bursting and it's not really going to be very easy to do that. So we'll do that in the next video. And yet always linking together news about the private view, which is tomorrow night we're opening. So private view is where, obviously, for those of you who've been to them before, you have your glass of champagne. For us, it's mince pies, mulled wine, sausage rolls. We're doing a festive theme, hopefully to get people into the spirit of Christmas, maybe the spirit of buying paintings, but just a kind of warm, fuzzy feeling. It really helps to have an element of luxury to a private view like that. And maybe some smooth, tinkly jazz in the background, but there'll be so many people there, we'll barely hear it. But the feel of a private view is that first glimpse. This is where you invite your sponsors, your key clients, your buyers, people, your friends who you want to see the show and support you, absolutely. But never underestimate getting local businesses to come to these private views. It's a really good way to network. Now, networking with exhibitions, creating momentum for your work, kind of creating also a feel of things are going on with your work. That's really exciting. And they're so important to make sure you share the news of private views because it creates a buzz. Usually, at least in my kind of network, they're usually on Thursday nights because Friday nights, Saturday nights, people are always usually quite busy. Thursday, it lets you bounce into the weekend and also it lets you have the show completely ready to kind of show to the public on a Friday. So Thursdays have always just been how I've done private views. Again, this one's going to be 5 p.m. till 9, a couple of hours. Some people leave straight from work. Other people take longer to get there. Go to a private view before dinner. That's usually how we used to do it. It's just that sneak peek, and people love a sneak peek. So if you're an up-and-coming artist, a private view could be a very lucrative, quite kind of luscious way of getting people to get excited by your work, to get that first glimpse of what you haven't really shown in the public before in a kind of coherent setting. So that's very exciting as well. So next on the list for doing an exhibition is your website. So online catalogues are really the best way to convey all the information, price lists, all that kind of nitty-gritty information about what's on show effectively. So I'll have an access point on my website, which is Catalogue 2023, with a list of exhibited work, a little blurb about each of them. And then at the bottom, the price list, just to make it really transparent, really easy. I won't have any prices on the wall. My labelling is basically just the name, title, dimensions and materials of the artwork because people want to be completely focused on the artwork. They don't want to be distracted by the material value of, oh, this is this much, that has that much value. No, an exhibition is about getting lost in the work. You want the viewers to feel like they are completely immersed in what they're seeing, particularly with landscape painting. So we'll keep the labels very discreet just so everybody can know what everything is. Never underestimate the importance of checking your labels. At my exhibition last year, I did misprice one or two, which is why I've removed prices this year. But that's fine. We live and learn. The main thing is about keeping it very professional whenever you make a mistake as an artist putting on a show. I'm going to have a series of framed works and unframed works, big canvases and small works as well. I've actually got some quite small, juicy little like miniature pieces I thought would be great for kind of Christmas presents this year. So with an exhibition, always think about the scale of things that you're doing. The big, amazing, impressive pieces are crowd pleasers. They're kind of the dramatic pieces that pull people in from the streets. actually it's quite nice to be able to have just some little sort of painterly studies for maybe people who just want to buy Christmas presents, which is quite nice and affordable, to make your work approachable and not feel like it's only for people who have a certain budget for artwork. So I always recommend doing some slightly smaller works just to also create a bit of contrast. So it's not just huge paintings. You can have some jewel-like little juicy pieces sort of snuck in there as well. Another thing to think about with exhibitions is the relationship each artwork has to the painting next to it. And I've got about 14 paintings going in this show. What I've actually realised is that it's okay not to exhibit everything. You don't have to cram a gallery space full. And this is more of what we'll talk about when I'm actually installing the show. But be selective about the colour palette of the work you've got and how each work relates to each other. So, for example, I was going to exhibit this piece, but I've decided not to, because when I sort of put it against maybe something else that I was showing, it actually felt like it was more of a sketch within a painting, and I actually feel like it detracts from the final piece. So something like this is okay just to hold back. It's good to keep things in the studio as well, to refer to and, you know, have as reference when this exhibition's over. But I've decided to keep the works quite large. The main colour themes are pink and green, because I've gone for my Meadow Dewy Spring series. Again, I'll talk about that next time. But I didn't want to have slightly odd-shaped canvases, which, again, this was a one-off, and I don't think having one-offs kind of create a sense of a body of work. It just sort of feels like an afterthought. So I'm being quite selective and not choosing anything which would just maybe look a bit strange. So something like this, a bit strange. But again, the smaller works, because of the colour coherence, you know, something like this on the same wall as the grander piece, that will have kind of a relationship and a bit of kind of conversation. So that would work. So it's all about just being selective about exactly what you're choosing in your show and why. So so we've got the exhibition ready. We're just about to wrap up everything. I've got all my work invoiced, ready for sales. Got my red dots in case anything does sell. But also, little note, if you have an exhibition where you feel inspired to share your work with the world, that is supreme bravery. Don't feel like you need to have a sellout exhibition or a sale equates to success. You getting out of your studio, showing your new work to an audience, the hardest thing any artist can do, particularly when it's without a salon-style show, when you're hidden within maybe 6 or 7 artists or big group exhibitions, because then it's just 1 or 2 of your pieces. When you're committing to a whole show just of your work, it's absolutely sort of nerve-wracking. And I think you have to be kind to yourself and realise, enjoy it. Enjoy getting your work out of your environment into a new place. You'll be able to step back from the work. You'll be able to talk to people who haven't seen it. One of them might suggest something that they love about the work, which you didn't actually realise, and it makes you see your work differently. Someone else might not like it. Also, the moment you give it to the public, it's not really yours anymore. It becomes theirs. And I think their engagement with it, the viewer's engagement with the work, it can be negative. And that's also quite nerve-wracking if somebody doesn't find it to their taste. But painting is all about taste, but it doesn't have to be yours. This is just a real key thing to remember, because it's not personal, but it feels personal, because it's your soul bed on canvas. And someone's like, I don't know if I like that. It's fine, because the world is a big place. You have your support network, you have your groupies. You just focus on the people that make you feel confident in yourself when you're doing something like this. So make sure you have 1 or 2 people there who are on your side, your team, particularly for the private view. I'll have Rafe behind me, making sure behind the scenes it all goes superbly smoothly. Always inviting, like you say, a couple of friends just to be your support network, particularly if you do shows sort of in the city, where it can feel slightly more kind of like big leagues. That's just my one little bit of advice that I found from experience, having someone that's got your back, which is really for me. So I think that's everything for this week's episode. It's a bit of a kind of ramble just about the kind of nature of this show for me. But I've been with my baby and not painting, and suddenly to re-emerge as an artist, not as a mother, feels like a really big step, because I feel like I got so consumed with baby brain. To be able to actually return to painting practice is a really big step. And I've been quite honest about that in my work. It became very pink and luscious and spring-like. All my work, I'll talk to you a bit more about it in the gallery. It's very verdant and kind of full of this hope of new beginnings and these kind of like, I think it was the pregnancy, and I think maybe being a mum, it just filtered into my colour choices, which is I think not a bad thing, to just be honest about where you are in your life, reflecting on your work. Don't be ashamed of it. Like, it's so easy to hide behind professionalism when you're trying to show your work with an artist statement, which we can talk about in another episode, artist statements. Wanting to make yourself feel really kind of imposing and no one can touch me because I'm hiding behind all these fancy words for my art. Actually, keeping it simple is the best thing, because it means people can find it accessible, which is what I've done with this show. So yeah, I think that's everything for this episode. So hope you've enjoyed this kind of artist ramble about exhibitions. We will be making, I know I say it every week, we're going to be making more videos. We have got videos to edit. There's more videos coming, and also doing a show like this has kickstarted my practice again. So I'm really excited just to be able to share with you my return to the studio going into a new year, and bringing you along for the way. So please like and subscribe if anything in this video is remotely interesting or helpful. If you are doing an exhibition yourself, good luck. If you aren't doing an exhibition but you want to, I really hope this exhibition maybe provides you with some insight or just support, knowing that there's artists out there doing exactly the same as you. Like and subscribe. I think I've already said that. Follow me on Jess Oliver Art on Instagram for my daily updates. And yeah, leave a comment below if there's anything you want to share or ask. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.